Welcome everyone to a new space. We're still waiting for two more speakers, Karina and Marina. It's cool that that rhymes, I guess. Um, but that's just business as usual. They'll probably maybe join a bit later on, and we'll just weave them into the conversation. Um, yeah, I'm excited about today's space. Welcome everyone. We're going to be talking about careers in Web3 data and analytics. And we'll be talking with top analysts from top projects. And a cool side note, these are all females today. So if you think like this space is not like for women or anything like that, or if you're a woman and you feel like you have like the odds against you, these ladies are definitely proving that it doesn't have to be that way. So, little self-introduction. I'm Helix. I'm your usual host and moderator. Today we'll have another host, a little bit more about that later. I'm a big believer of making data-driven decisions, and I'm inspired by the possibilities that crypto brings. And therefore, we bring the Web3 analytics community together with these spaces so we can connect and learn with MetricsDAO. So, for the people that don't know, MetricsDAO is a community of Web3 data analysts, and with us you can earn, learn, and connect. So, we got paid analytics challenges, we got courses and webinars, we got our Discord where you can connect and learn more. And we have this cool weekly Twitter space on the hottest topics in Web3 that we always approach with data driven insights from top analysts and researchers in the space. Your host for today will be Vida. Vida is our lead education, and she's been further developing all our educational offerings. And she suggested to do this space. And of course, it seems fitting that with an all ladies panel, a lady should host. So, Vida, with that, over to you.
Thank you so much, Helix, for the introduction. And I am very excited to be hosting this space today and connecting with our wonderful speakers who will be sharing their paths in the Web3 analytics world, which all are distinct and unique. And I do believe that the speakers that we have today are role models in the Web3 analytics space. And I can't wait to learn more about their own unique career journeys. So let's kick this off. And we can start with introductions. So if all of you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, like what do you do in Web3 analytics, and anything else you think would be important for us to know about you. So maybe we can start from Jessica.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jessica, and I am a protocol specialist slash data engineer at Flipside Crypto. My day-to-day is very, very focused within the Cosmos ecosystem. So I do a lot of data and like schema design for Flipside for that, as well as going out and kind of forming partnerships and business deals.
Amazing. Thank you, Jessica. Let's go with Clara now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Clara. I am the Director of Research at Kaiko. Kaiko is a crypto data provider. Today, we have a research team that produces weekly newsletters, reports. We do a ton of real-time analysis on market crashes, but we focus mostly on market events. So this means that we analyze centralized and decentralized exchange market data, but we specialize in liquidity analysis, specifically looking at things like market depth, spread, slippage for various pairs, trading on some of the world's leading exchanges like Binance, Coinbase, Bitstamp, and more.
Awesome. What about you, Karina?
Hi, I'm Karina, and I run blockchain data at OpenSea.
Great. And Megan?
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a tech lead at Dune. We're a community data platform, and I split my time running Spellbook, which is our community data pipelining project, and building natural language query tools with LLMs.
Awesome. And what about you, Danning?
Hi, nice to meet you, everyone. I'm a data scientist at Flashbots. Recently joined. Before that, I was at 0x, so mostly being studying and analyzing DEX, DEX trading, DEX aggregator, and MEV now.
Great. So thank you, everyone, for your introduction. Super excited to hear your journeys today. And if anyone here in the audience has any questions, feel free to just drop them in the comments section. And we might have some time at the end as well if you like to come up on stage and say something or ask a question. Right. So I would love to hear from all of you about your transition journey into the Web3 analytics space. How was it for you and what you were doing before? So let's start from Jessica.
Yeah, sure. So before I was doing data science at a not-for-profit here in the US called the United Way. So I was doing a lot of analysis around ensuring charities were actually spending their funds responsibly. My transition into Web3 analytics was pretty natural because I was already pretty degen in a lot of NFT communities when I got my start. So I had been building up like some dashboards for that. And someone at Flipside actually saw my profile and DM'd me like, hey, do you want to apply for this job? Are you interested? So for me, I would say that the most important thing was kind of just building up my profile and showing off my work.
Yeah, building your profile, showing up your work. Yeah, that's what we hear quite a lot as one of the most critical things that help people to get a new job or transition into a new role. What about you, Clara? Or sorry, Jessica, did you want to add something?
No, I think we can add it at a later point in the conversation.
Okay. Okay, then let's go with Clara.
So I got my start in data and crypto analytics. So I've been working at Kaiko for actually about 5 years. But we're a data company. So we were essentially sitting on this gold mine of market data, but no one was doing analysis. So I just started experimenting a few years ago, just charting some things, and eventually started writing short little analyses of the market trends. And then we started a newsletter, and now it's a full blown research team. It's 5 of us, and we have quite a few different publications. So it's been a really cool growth on my end to sort of see and grow the entire Kaiko research team to what it is today. Which is essentially one of like the leaders in terms of market structure analysis on crypto.
That's awesome to hear what you have built. What about you, Karina?
Yeah, so I had been working in like Web2 tech companies doing data previously, analytics, and I became interested in crypto in like 2017 and just kind of as a trader, and then in like 2021 I became interested, or I started trading NFTs more actively, and I really enjoyed that in a way. I guess I really I don't know, personally connect to NFT more than like ERC20s, and as a result, I joined OpenSea, and partially, and then also, oh, okay. And then I focused on blockchain data because I thought that was the most interesting part of I don't know, data in this new space, because in most like Web2 data like companies, the biggest challenge is finding like accurate data. But with blockchain data, you have accurate data. And the most interesting challenge is like finding the right interpretation of that and like understanding it properly. And I thought that was really interesting. And there's all sorts of analysis that's actually possible in a like super clear way, with blockchain data, such as like understanding retention in a more full manner, or like understanding a lot about your customers even when they disconnect your wallet. So I thought that was super exciting, and that's why I decided to focus on that.
Awesome. And what about Megan?
Yeah. So I actually got into Web3 analytics during my maternity leave. I've been a machine learning engineer, data scientist for like 8 years now. And I ended up taking a course from Andrew Hung during that time. And I remember writing a bunch of really complicated queries and being annoyed with the complexity of the syntax, and started contributing user-defined functions to simplify that to abstractions, which is the project that became Spellbook. So Dune reached out to me kind of at the end of that course, and I joined them as soon as my maternity leave ended. Yeah, so it was fun. And I think I really agree with what Karina's saying about like the availability of data is what makes this exciting, because in previous jobs you're kind of like always looking for accurate data, and it's nice that it's always there in the blockchain space.
Absolutely. And Danning?
Yeah, I started my career, I guess, after school. Was really lucky to get an internship during like a school project about analyzing blockchain data, and I joined the consensus first after school, and from there, I think I got, I guess, like a pretty good exposure of Ethereum community, and getting more and more pilled over time about like what people care about, and getting built up, and like what they value about. And so over time, I think because DeFi came up in 2020, and digging further, I've been mostly basically just analyzing like the DEX and DeFi data, and I felt excited all the time about like basically building a frontier of the technology. And then so like a lot of time when you think about the things you build is like, this is the first version in the world. Like for example, like a data pipeline scraping multi-chain data. So yeah, that's what I think always pumps me working in crypto data.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your journeys. It was really interesting to hear them. And now I wanted to follow up a little bit on the point that Jessica brought up earlier, which is the importance for new analysts to be putting themselves out there and showcasing their expertise and work, so that they can get noticed and prove what they can do. So I'm wondering if you have any tips for people who are just entering Web3 analytics space on how they could start building their portfolio and showcasing their work. And here, just whoever would like to go ahead first, feel free to do so.
Yeah, sure. I can say a few things on this. Is that ultimately, I think it's important that, you have the Twitter account, you've got the Discord account, and you get really active and engaged with people who are involved with projects and communities that you're super interested in, you want to be a part of. When I'm looking kind of for an analyst, it's either like, hey, is this person like really good at DEXs if I want to look at decentralized finance, or do they have specialty in NFT projects, or do they do more analytics for a certain blockchain, et cetera. But I think that what's really important is not only are you putting these analytics out there, but you're also making yourself seem very positive and very great to be around. Because when someone's like negative, even if they're contributing like really great work, I think we do notice that. Like, kind of got a mental list of people. It's like, oh, I really loved these people. I love that interaction. I'd love to work with them in the future. And then there are some people where I'm like, maybe not. So I would say like every interaction you have, try to be kind, try to be authentic, and really just try to put your best foot forward in all aspects.
Beautiful. It is indeed important, not only your hard skills and what you are able to create within the Web3 analytics world, but also how do you communicate and how do you show up when you're working with people. Amazing. Do any guests have anything here to add or share?
Yeah, I'll just say one thing that I think is really amazing about the Web3 analytics space versus kind of before Web3 is I just remember always like looking over people's resumes, and if you're a junior analyst, it was like, oh, they did this project with the Titanic data set or the digits recognition data set. And like, this is really unique that you get to work with an actual diverse set of data, because previously you really had like a limited set of data that you could work on. So I think the important thing is really coming up with like interesting, impactful questions and putting something out there that someone hasn't seen before. Because at least when I'm like thinking about hiring someone, when I see like a totally new analysis. I'm much more excited about it, and I think in like the old world, it was easy to fall in the trap of like doing the same project that everyone else had done before. So just really thinking about like what are you personally interested in, and then making analysis based on that rather than following a recipe.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point to really look look into what you are interested in and find your own unique angle that potentially has not been out there before instead of following someone else's footprints. Yeah. And anything else?
Yeah, I would echo on that. Like putting yourself out there is pretty much the most powerful way to learn from your mistakes. Like a lot of time, if you share something on Twitter and someone be like, "That doesn't smell right," and then I feel like those are the times when I learned the most and like dig deeper when other people are holding you accountable. So
Absolutely. I see Karina as well wanted to say something.
Oh yeah, I mean, I totally agree with everything everyone said before. I would say like in terms of when and I actually wanted to like flag that, from hearing the stories of other people, like a lot of people got hired through just like the work that they had contributed open source or whatever, and that's definitely something I look for too. I think some of the people that we brought on the team have been like, I saw them in Dune Discord optimizing people's queries and doing it like super well and effectively and super fast, or like they even like reached out on Twitter with some like new analysis and or like contributed to an abstraction that we use, and or like found a problem with it, so like and proposed a cool solution. So I really love being like, I think the space is super awesome that it's open source. I really love being educated and delighted by new things. And I think like part of it is just like building your brand or a reputation in a like super open and collaborative fashion, I think is really awesome. And I think it's part of why I also just enjoy the space in general.
Awesome. Anything else to add here? I also see that Impact Hire wanted to say something, so go for it. You're muted if you are speaking. Okay.
Hey, sorry, sorry, like, I'm not, I'm unable to hear the voice from there. Sorry, what's topics going here?
Okay. I think that in this case, maybe just listen to us and familiarize yourself with what's going on. We're just talking about Web3 analytics crew here with some wonderful movement in Web3 analytics. Right. Now I wanted to talk a little bit more about that part of getting yourself out there and putting yourself in front of opportunities. So we covered a little bit about the importance of building the portfolio and working on interesting questions and building your Twitter brand. But also, how can we become better networkers when landing a Web3 analytics job? How can we actually create those opportunities for people to say yes? How can we reach out to people in a way where they're most likely to respond? Maybe you could share some of the practices that you found helpful for yourselves or saw that helped others.
I can start. I think it's very important to use Twitter, especially in the crypto analytics space. I find that every time I tweet a new analysis or from Kaiko's Twitter account, it sort of brings us in a whole bunch of new journalists or other analytics analysts in the Web3 space. So it's, I think, the most important venue for getting your analysis out there, and also a very powerful tool for networking. I know I've made a ton of media connections just via Twitter, and it's the journalists that essentially are the ones that are writing about crypto, and they use a lot of analysis that Web3 analysts do.
Yeah. A little bit that I'd like to add is I think it's kind of important to know your market. So if you're reaching out to someone, if you want to reach out to a journalist and get your analysis, say on Blockworks, you have to find those people. If you're looking for a job, you should be just like looking for hiring managers. And even though it's not the best really way to find people, sometimes creeping LinkedIn and like the people who are at a company can be really helpful. I would still recommend contacting them through Twitter because, this is Web3 who really uses LinkedIn. But, one of the big things for me that if someone's contacting me, and when I try to contact others, I always try to be very clear in the message, like why I'm contacting them. If someone just sends me a message just like, hi, it's probably less likely to get responded to. The other thing that I would say is don't get discouraged if someone doesn't respond right away, or, maybe you don't get a response from some people. Maybe there are people who aren't as active on socials. There are also people who just are like bombarded with messages. It's totally normal in this space. I mean, if you look at my Telegram, I'm sitting at like 10K unread messages. It's not really sustainable. And there's a chance that you could get a week, go 2 weeks before you hear anything back. So really, I would say just be very clear and don't hold back if you see someone you want to talk to.
Yeah, that's really important. I think like what I realized as well myself is that people are way more willing to help than I initially thought they do. And when I reach out to many people myself that I thought they wouldn't respond, they actually did respond and were so willing to help. So I think there are so many amazing people here in this space that are very supportive and are willing to help you in your own career journey. So do reach out. Yeah.
I think, sorry, Megan.
Oh, no, I was just going to say people do want to help, especially oftentimes people are aligned due to referral bonuses. So it is in their interest to answer you.
Yeah, I want to say like, on Twitter, your accounts oftentimes get a lot of spam. So like people ask you, hey, Ming, this NFT and all that. So I would say like definitely make the messages more concrete or like specific, as in like, what's your goal of reaching out, instead of very generic. Say, oh, I want to connect or something. For example, I would say like, if the messages or reaching out has a specific questions about how to figure out this data, or maybe I'm looking for this data source, do you know where to go? That will be definitely more of my interest of like helping this person, rather than just say, hey, yeah, I'd love to help, what can I help? So another thing is that there's already so many data communities out there. Like you can go to like June Discord, ask people a question, and then there's people gonna ask you answer your questions often, and then you will reach out them in DM, and that's a way connect with expertise. And like MetricsDAO is basically a data community for everything, actually, like helping you with analytics, with job posting, and all these panels. So I would say find the right communities will definitely be a boost for this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the point that you mentioned with being specific with your messaging, yeah, I think it's really important to actually let people know how they can help you, because they don't know what help do they need. So do specify that with your messaging. Karina?
Yeah, and I think that like also, what I find effective is if you can help them too, right? Because like depending on what your goal is, for example, if you're looking for a job, or that's probably the example that I'm most familiar with, right? But like, I'd want to know like, okay, well, what can you do? And like reading your experience is fine in a resume, but like I think it's much more meaningful to me personally to like actually see your experience in the wild. So like, sharing work that you've done, linking your like, your Dune profile or your Flipside profile, or like even getting creative and like, tagging people on like PR or something like that could be cool, right? Like, I think it's all about proof of work. And so I would encourage people to really get out there because like that helps me like one understand that you're like serious, right? Like, I think, and then two, that like you can do the work and you're like committed and just like an extra step, right? And also, it's good overall. I think you can just like to contribute to the community in an open source fashion, in whatever way most appeals to you, and you can probably leverage that across many different use cases.
Absolutely. I think this was really crucial. That's what you mentioned here. What about you, Megan? You wanted to share something?
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Karina said. I think the opportunities to contribute to open source are very powerful because you're doing something that we wanted you to do anyway. I'd also say hackathons. We recently made an offer to someone who won a hackathon, and I think that's a great opportunity to showcase what you can do and like really align with like we're telling you like exactly what we want. So it's easy to like align incentives there.
Absolutely. And for me, hackathons were really helpful in my own journey. I participated in quite a lot, especially physical hackathons, and I learned so much during those experiences because you're kind of you're basically put into this uncomfortable situation. You have to build something really quick with people that a lot of times you don't know at all. So I built so many skills. And you get to learn about the space and the different protocols and tools involved. Yeah. Anything else that any of you would like to add on this question? Okay. Then I'm also now wondering when members of different communities, like MetricsDAO, for example, are feeling ready to transition to the job market. Let's say they maybe gone through some of our educational programs, maybe they've completed some analytics challenges, but they're not really sure what's the first step they can take. So, like, how do you think someone could start? Like, what is that actionable step that they could make?
I think that there's a couple actionable steps that once they're feeling ready to transition that they could make. And I think it really all revolves around like building up how you present your body of work to others. So earlier we were talking about presence and socials, but something like building up a personal website, building up a resume, and really thinking how you present this information to highlight both your skills, who you are, like your background, in a Web3 manner, and also in a manner that's really international, right? Because these companies are from all over. And I know it's kind of a resume in the US looks different than one in Europe, et cetera. So really like trying to just get these materials together. I think that a second step too is identifying people who you would actually like to work for. Not only like who they are, but also their personalities. And if you want to target these jobs, figuring out something that you can give them right off the bat. Because if I was looking, say, like Karina's been on this call, if I wanted to work at OpenSea and I saw on her Twitter profile that she was hiring, I would try to create a unique analysis about OpenSea and something that hasn't really been shown before. Whether it's good, it's bad, it's indifferent about the platform, I'm not sure that that matters, but presenting it in a different light and also an accurate light than other people have in the past.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Anything else to add here?
Well, maybe just to quip on a point that was made earlier, is that when we're presenting these works on social medias too, you look at the people who are like big, well-known threaders. Like people know Moki. There are some in the Cosmos ecosystem, like Emperor Osmo, I really like. And if you look at the end of every last one of their threads, they're tagging bigger influencers. So if you're presenting works, don't feel like shy about just tagging people that you think this is applicable to. And even if they don't respond or give you the retweet, maybe they'll at least see it. And sometimes that can be a great way to just communicate older parts of your profile and get eyes on them, because you never know what's going to come out of that.
That was a great tip. Thank you for sharing. Do you, other speakers have something to add here? Okay. So we actually had a couple of speakers who had to drop off, like Danning and Karina. So just wanted to bring that up, and we'll have actually a new speaker, Marina, joining us in a moment. Yeah. So there's also one thing with women that I've noticed being very present, is whenever they are transitioning into new opportunities, they have a big, a lot of self-doubt and that feeling that they are not ready or just don't have enough skills to make that transition happen. And that is much more present in women versus men, though men face that too. So I'm wondering here, how can one know that they are now ready to land a Web3 analytics job and approach those opportunities?
I wanted to, I guess, say something about sort of learning how to analyze data. So I don't have any technical training, and I found one of the most powerful tools for doing data analysis is actually using no-code tools like Tableau. Tableau is a charting software. You learn a lot about data and how to structure data and do some simple manipulations, but you don't need to know any like scripting languages or data science to do very easy analysis, especially with crypto data, where it's typically a little less quantitative. You can just sort of chart it to find trends and patterns. So I really recommend anyone getting into the space. I think they have free trials of Tableau, but there's a lot of free data, and you can just practice by doing all of their free exercises for learning all about data structure.
Thank you for sharing that tip. Tableau, check it out. Um, and I think it can be really helpful for a lot of you. Thank you for sharing. And back to the question on how to know if you are ready. Do we have any thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I can share a little thoughts on this. Is that I actually think that because crypto is such a competitive ecosystem, you have people here, whether they're male, female, or identify differently, that doubt themselves every day, that are in very, very high positions. You know, they feel like they got lucky. And I'm not sure that there's going to be one skill set or like one benchmark that says like, hey, I'm ready. Like, this is it. This is the time. Like, the time to start applying is any time that you find something that you might be interested in, just go for it. And I know that takes like a lot of courage sometimes to just put yourself out there. But the absolute worst thing that's going to happen is that you're going to get told no. And that's not the end of the world, you know? So what you just need to do is try. And when you find like, okay, someone told me no, I didn't get this opportunity, that sucks, but it's a learning experience. And just take the feedback, or take like your gut feeling, oh, I bombed to this part of the interview, or, oh, you know, maybe they said we need 5 years of experience and I've only got 2. Maybe that was the flag. and just kind of iterate and just consider those experiences part of your journey. And I'll say, like, for me, I got told no when I accepted the job at Flipside. I actually really, really wanted to work at Celsius. And I got told no right after a technical interview that honestly I bombed. And looking back, it was a godsend. So sometimes those things just work out in your favor, and do know that.
Absolutely. Just go for it, and ultimately, it is going to be a learning experience. And when you really look into what is the worst scenario, what can happen, it's really just say no, and ultimately, it is going to be a great learning experience. So going for it, even if you're not ready, can be really helpful.
Yep. And I think too, if someone tells you no, don't be afraid to ask that interviewer for feedback. So then you can learn it's like, oh, this is why they said no. That can be super, super important. And I think it can help you make you even more ready for like the next steps.
Megan?
Yeah, I would say also keep in mind that interviewing is a very imperfect science. So someone may there's plenty of like false negatives in the world. So someone might say no to you, and like they might have just designed a bad interview or had an off day, or you just got unlucky based on who else had recently been interviewed by them. So I think it's also important not to like internalize rejections, because yeah, what they mean really depends on circumstances, and like continuing to have confidence in yourself and keep working is the most important thing, rather than kind of overanalyze too much what has happened. Like I always try to like log any like questions I get wrong, so I can kind of like understand like trends in my weaknesses and my strengths. But in general, don't over index on the interview, because a lot of people write bad interviews.
Yep. That's very great points. And I'll say too, sometimes rejection happens for reasons that are just completely not your fault. Maybe a company is dead set on having an employee who works within Central European time, or like 1 or 2 hours, yet you live in California. Maybe that no would just be like, hey, the time zone's not a fit for us. And they don't get back to you with that sort of feedback. But I feel like that happens all the time. So she's right. Like these no's are probably not that personal.
Absolutely. So, yeah, these are some great tips. Do ask for feedback, take a note of maybe the questions that you got wrong, but also don't take it too personally, as also sometimes it's maybe you do have the skills, but it maybe just wasn't the right company, and that's okay. So we have right now a new speaker who has just joined us, Marina, community lead at MetricsDAO. So welcome, Marina. Would you like to do a quick introduction for us here?
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me. Hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah, all good.
Awesome. Yeah, I am so happy that I still had a chance to join, even though I'm a bit late. So I appreciate you rolling with it. I'm glad to be here in this great company of amazing women. And I caught a bit of the discussion just now about interviewing. And honestly, like these are all tips that I could still really use myself. So I appreciate hearing those. To just like a couple of words to intro me and kind of why I'm here and what I'm about. I lead the community pod over at MetricsDAO, and I occupy kind of the space, I'd say, in between on the intersection of Web3 or blockchain data analytics and kind of analyst relations and community building. And this is a space that I kind of partly stumbled upon by chance, but I wouldn't be anywhere else right now. It really fulfills me with how the analysts are finding themselves and growing, and how the field is evolving and kind of where it's going. So yeah, that's me. Again, I'm really happy to be here.
Happy to have you with us. Also, now I wanted to ask you about how did you actually find your own specialization in Web3 analytics? We kind of covered a little bit earlier the importance of as well looking into your own interests and maybe based on your own interest, even coming up with unique analytics questions to solve. So I'm wondering, how did you find your own path in Web3 analytics, your specialization? And if someone has no clue, let's say, in what you're interested in or how they could specialize, if you have some tips to share as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things that I'd like to touch on here. One is in terms of analytics and kind of data side. I would say I'm still very much finding my kind of interest and specialization and niche. The advice that I often hear, and that resonates with me quite a bit, is that following your curiosity goes a really, really long way, just because there's so much you could do and there's so many things that you could be, analyzing, or there's so many tools you could be learning, that there has to be something that's driving you there. So as long as you kind of follow the next step in your curiosity, that can give that little, extra boost of choosing one thing over a million others. And when it comes to kind of the more analyst and community building side of my work, I would say that's kind of where I've been really doubling down and specializing for a little while. And there, I would say it's the community that really did it for me. So what happened, I guess how it worked for me and how I would generalize out of that is find something that helped you and benefited you and maybe try to replicate it a little bit. So with me, it was I stumbled upon this community first. It was a Flipside crypto, and then over at MetricsDAO that really supported each other and helped each other grow, and that was there in kind of a field that otherwise could be a bit isolating. So I kind of saw that and I felt that and I resonated with that. And the next natural step was to kind of give that back, to start helping to build that community and start helping to build those relationships and resources with and for other analysts. So I'd say to follow your curiosity and give back what helped you. Those are the couple of things that stand out for me.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. What about the others?
Well, I guess it also has to do with access to data. That sort of that's going to determine probably primarily what you're able to analyze. I think I've been really lucky in that I work at a data company, so we sort of have a gold mine of market data that is extremely rare, which makes our analysis very unique. Whereas if you're just sort of like a retail analyst and you don't have maybe the funds to pay for data sets, you're a lot more limited in terms of the data you need, and you sort of need to accommodate the data services that already exist and what they're providing for free. In which case, there's a bunch of free resources in crypto that have high level data, but ultimately, if you want the most granular data, you're probably going to have to pay. In which case, you'd probably want to find a job or maybe an internship at a data company so that you get access to this data. So I would say on my end, I very much enjoy market analysis, less so on-chain in the Web3 space. So I like looking at everything markets related, whether that's trade volume, order book data, to try and spot trends. But I think on-chain analysts typically have an easier time accessing free data because it's all public anyways, just on the blockchain. So I would probably start with on-chain data if you're just getting into the space, and then I guess find some other data providers. Kaiko does have some public research and occasionally has some data sets available, but ultimately you probably should find something that offers something for free.
Yeah, so I think you brought up some really valuable points here. And it depends, I guess, here as well on what you want to specialize in or what you want to analyze and what data is available in that niche. But we already have quite some data available on chain to start with. And then, as you mentioned, maybe finding an internship to get more data available if that's what is needed for your career path would be really helpful. Anything else to share here?
I guess I would say less think about like the tool and the data you want as much as the questions you want to answer. For me, when I work on something, I first think about like, what do I want to know? And then I try to like think about what would I do if I got that information even before I try to answer that question, so I can understand if it is valuable and actionable. So I think less about like what skill I want to learn as much as like what thing do I want to know about the world. And I think that's a useful way to frame your analytics in a way that's also useful for other people. So I think that's also important to kind of like simulate what does it look like if I even do this work and make sure there is like an outcome where there's some like change or decision that can be made based on your analytics.
Interesting framing. And I think analysts actually do have the capability to make a lot of impact in the world through their analysis, and analyze a lot of important events that have occurred. So kind of looking through that angle of, okay, what impact maybe do I want to create? What information do I want to make available and readable to the world? Like I think that's a very interesting way to approach it. Anything else? Okay. Just wanted as well to mention that if any of you would like to come up on stage right now and just ask a question, feel free to raise your hand. Still have a few minutes. Okay, it seems like we don't have any questions at this point. And then we can go towards the closing of today's space. For the closing, I wanted to ask you if there is something that you'd like to share, something that could be helpful to Web3 analysts. Perhaps it just didn't fit into the frame of questions today. That you think you would like to share, and as well, if there is something you'd like to share about your work, about reaching out to you as well, feel free to add that. So whoever wants to start.
I will say I think that the analytics and data science tools are going to be revolutionary. They're going to change a lot in the next year, months. So it's going to be really important to learn how to use those new tools effectively because they will boost your productivity. And yeah, the more effective you can be and learn those tools before your peers, the better off you will be.
Awesome. I think was a very important point, is looking into the future and seeing, okay, what tools are coming up and what tools will be important for the world to know and for the future analysts to know, and starting to learn those ahead of others. Okay, maybe Jessica, do you have something to share for the closing?
Yeah, sure. I like Megan's point on don't being afraid to use new tools. I mean, since ChatGPT came out, I've been using it to teach myself new things almost every day. I think that I would also like to say that it's a really exciting time to be in data. We see not only do we have like Dune and Flipside, but we have so many other providers trying to make their mark in this space and trying to differentiate themselves from each other. And I love to see it. If you guys are creating things and maybe you don't have access to specialized data sets, do not be afraid to abuse our free tiers. That's what they're there for. Like, make us see your account and be like, oh, wow, look at that usage. Like, that's almost too high for us. You know, it's like, really, really, these tools are here for you. And you should really just try to get your hands on every last one and just check out like the competitors, check out what's in the space, because something that would really like make an impression on me, being focused at Flipside on the Cosmos stuff, is like a message that said, hey, I tried data source XYZ, and here's a write-up on like the pluses and minuses of you versus them versus maybe even a third provider. So that stuff's pretty cool.
Just to add something on tools that I wanted to mention is that at MetricsDAO we have had many workshops with various data providers, and even today, in less than an hour, we will be hosting a workshop with Artemis. So you can check out our YouTube channel under live section. You will find a bunch of different workshops and product sessions with various data providers, and we still have I think about 8 workshops and sessions coming up in June. So do check them out if you're interested in learning about new tools. And coming back to closing thoughts, Marina, do you have something to say here?
Yeah, first of all, a little bit of a tangent, but what Jessica said about accounts and usage and kind of looking at what analysts are doing, that made me shudder a little bit thinking of my kind of first, days and weeks and months in Web3 data and trying to find out how to use Flipside and teaching myself and those queries that were probably massive, that were probably, not limited, and any usage that would have come out of that. But I guess, hey, that's part of the journey. But what I want to add for my kind of closing thoughts and message is kind of really want to double down again on the audience and community and that aspect. So being human, I would say a human in data analysis, right? It's gonna change. There's a change coming as to what it means. And ChatGPT can now write SQL and can do all things like that, and language models can kind of do some of the technical part, or at least help us. But there's a very, very kind of tangible benefit and value and the kind of growth and innovation even in that intersection of kind of being a human who interprets data, who connects the audience with their findings, who kind of thinks what it means for the world, like was just said earlier as well, right? So I think it kind of puts us into a pretty powerful position as humans in data and Web3 data in particular. And I would really want to encourage any analysts who are here to kind of double down on that and build your audience and connect your audience with what you're finding and what's interesting about it, and helping them learn as you yourself learn. Yeah, that's my takeaway on being a person in data and analytics in Web3.
I think that you spurred one more closing thought that I have, is that the more you ingrain yourself in the Web3 space, the more and more you realize that this is actually a really, really small space when it comes to like who's the major players, even across blockchains and across ecosystems. So I would say like eventually you're going to get there, but how many data providers does MetricsDAO have? It's like 30. I think that we all know each other in some different way, shape, or form. So I think that once you feel this world starting to maybe close in on you a little bit, and you go like, hey, I've met this person over and over and over, maybe that's a sign of like not just being ready. It's a sign of like, hey, you're probably a senior in this space.
Absolutely. And I'm also wondering what are the thoughts of Clara for the closing?
Yeah, so I think that the future of data is definitely bright, specifically on-chain data and the use of no-code solutions. I think no-code solutions has really transformed the analytics space and has sort of led to this renaissance in crypto analysts and the types of stuff that they're doing. And that's why I think crypto really is at the forefront. It's probably the best industry to work in for data and for analytics, just because every day there's new types of measures and metrics that are being invented, and new data types that are emerging. And there's just a ton of creativity out there that's sort of magnified by social media too.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you everyone for attending the space today. And huge thanks to our wonderful speakers who shared some absolutely insightful nuggets with us today. I also wanted to mention that if you had an insight which resonated with you, do tweet it out on your own profile and tag the speakers, tag MetricsDAO, and just use it as a way to start building your own portfolio and your own brand. And also, if you would like to reach out to any of the speakers, feel free to do so as well. You have some follow-up questions. Yeah, so that's it then for today. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a wonderful day. And hopefully see you in future spaces. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for hosting.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.